what's in store for us in this film. The fascinating town of Koper, Slovenia. Trieste in Italy. Historic Split, Croatia. And the Game of Thrones capital, Dubrovnik. Then a delightful trip into Kotor, Montenegro, and a fascinating look around this historic city. Certainly an amazing cruise. Enjoyed every minute. We're about to explore the Adriatic and have just arrived in Koper, Slovenia. Where is that, you might ask? It's about 50 miles to the east of Venice across the Adriatic and only 12 miles south of the Italian city of Trieste, which is our next port of call. It borders Italy to the west, Austria and Hungary to the north, and Croatia to the south and east. Rachel is finding a map of the town for us, and it's another beautiful day. It's the main port of Slovenia, and in recent years has been a popular cruise ship destination. I have to admit that before we came here, I'd never heard of it. But I was in for a pleasant surprise. It is a quaint, quiet destination that we were able to explore easily on foot. I have noticed that many cruise ship passengers never get off the ship. But here I noticed most people strolled down the gangway and were having a look around. The ship itself only 5 minutes away from the town, allowing even people in wheelchairs to be able to have a look around. The first place we encounter is the city square and the 15th century Gothic, Venetian, Praetorian Palace. It's now where the tourist office is located. The Loggia Palace is also a Venetian Gothic palace, the earliest part of which dates from 1462. Today there's a cafe on the ground floor. Right in the middle of the square, the Catholic Cathedral of the Assumption, built in the 12th century, and the bell tower which houses one of the oldest bells in Slovenia from around 1333. The upper terrace of the tower is sometimes open to the public and allows great views over the Bay of Trieste. You might wonder why the bells are ringing so heartily today, but it's actually a Sunday, and it's also Father's Day. Inside the church is beautiful. It was built in the 12th century in Romanesque style with 3 naves, each ending with an apse. The pipe organ, very impressive. We loved Koper. History all around, interesting things to see, and a few cafes to have a drink. And wherever we walked, we kept getting a glimpse of the ship. Clearly Banksy was here. I think I'd seen him on the ship. Many of the places we visit with the ship are quite large, but the population of Koper is only 25,000. It makes for a very relaxing day, really enjoyable and certainly different. One street was called Cobbler Street, as during the 19th century, more than 20 cobblers worked here. The main trades were seamen, fishermen, and urban farmers, called Paulani. Whereas some of the buildings were quite run down, others had clearly been homes of wealthy people. Some of the places here were fascinating. The town was different in many ways and certainly unusual, and we observed great contrasts as we walked around. The Da Ponte fountain was an important source of water in past times. The current fountain was built in 1666. Its superstructure is in the shape of a bridge, very reminiscent of the Rialto in Venice. I didn't realize this, but Koper was formerly an island until 1825, when it was connected to the mainland by a causeway and drainage works. A map of 1781 shows what it was like, but there's also a plaque in the pavement here showing it. By the 16th century, the city was facing water shortages, and to alleviate this, water from a 2-mile distant spring was piped to the island via wooden underwater tubes. Unbelievable. The fountain was used as a source of potable water until 1898. Koper surely has a fascinating history. At this point in time, Rachel asked me if I felt like having a drink. Sightseeing is thirsty work, and we found just the place. And Rachel tried the Slovenian answer to Coca-Cola. The verdict?
It's certainly more herbal tasting than a regular Coke, and not so sweet, but actually very refreshing.
So Rachel, what do you think of Koper?
It's been an absolutely wonderful experience coming to Koper in Slovenia. It's a small, old, quaint little town, and even though it's Sunday and most of the shops are closed, There are still a few that are open, and they all have their unique little pieces and knickknacks that you can have a look at, even if you're not going to buy.
Many cruise ship passengers worry that they may not make it back to the ship in time, but here it's so close, it's almost impossible to miss the boat, so to speak. So I got back on the ship, and Rachel wanted to explore because she'd heard there was a beach nearby, and we still had half an hour before we sailed. So these are her shots, and I have to say, I really wish I'd gone with her.
I'll take you with me from this place of despair. Take me out to roam the world again. Take me out to roam the world. Na 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 na.
So we're soon back on the ship, enjoying dinner and looking forward to the sail away, getting the last shots. Next port of call, Trieste in Italy. We've just arrived in Trieste, Italy. It certainly brings back a great memory, as Rachel and I visited here on our very first cruise back in 2017, when we visited with my sister Sharon and Edward. Where is it? Just a few miles up the coast from Koper. I still clearly remember that visit, and the weather today is almost exactly the same as our last trip. Hardly a cloud in the sky. It appears, however, that the crowds of tourists have not returned here yet.
We made it to Trieste again, and it looks pretty much like it did last time we were here.
Trieste was ruled by the Habsburg monarchy, the great power of Europe, from 1382 until 1918, and it was a most important seaport. It was the fourth largest city of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, after Vienna, Budapest and Prague. Vienna by the Sea and City of Coffee were titles used to describe it. The Unity of Italy Square, our first destination, is said to be Europe's largest square that's located next to the sea, and during the Habsburg rule was known as Piazza Grande, the Great Square. A popular place for a drink and a snack, even lunch. This is the fountain of the four continents, a very beautiful place to sit and soak a little. And plenty of vitamin C. So we strolled around a little and then enjoyed the midday sun.
nice every minute.
Some places were very familiar. The Grand Canal of Trieste, James Joyce, the Irish writer, spent some time here, and last time we were here, Rachel got a picture with his statue. So another for the memory. After that, we decided to have a coffee and a snack right next to the Grand Canal. And had a drink while Rachel wrote a postcard.
Writing your postcard.
I am writing my postcards that I got from Slovenia yesterday, and I'm going to hopefully post them today while we're in Trieste.
We then got talking to the man sitting next to us, Giacomo, and his colleague.
So this is James, but in Italian,
Giacomo.
Giacomo.
Vamos a la playa.
Vamos, vamos.
Bye.
And guess what happened?
You'll never believe what just happened. We met a lovely gentleman and his friend who was sitting next to us at the cafe on the riverside. And after we got talking, it was time for them to leave. And he came up to us and said, "Just so you know, I've paid your bill for you." He goes, "It was my pleasure talking to you. I had so much fun sharing experiences. And I want to show you to my token of appreciation."
So many thanks to Giacomo. It was a pleasure to talk to him, and he really made our day. After that, we took another stroll around. On the last visit, we'd gone about an hour's drive out of the city to visit the Miramare Castle. But as we'd been before, we stayed in the city center this time. So Rachel sent the postcard to Dodi, her sister, and we then strolled back through the main square to the ship. Tomorrow, we'll be in Split, Croatia. Breakfast in Split, one of the most popular places in Croatia. My last visit was with Nate. 20th of May 2019, 3 years ago, but it seems like yesterday. I'm looking forward to showing the place to Rachel, as it has a fascinating history and certainly a very scenic place. All we have to do is walk about half a mile past a quirky passenger ship, and we're right in the center of things on another beautiful day in the Adriatic. In 305 AD, it became the location of the palace of the Roman Emperor Diocletian. So we enter a very historic location, one of several destinations in the Adriatic that provide a great variety of history. The Greeks, the Romans, the Venetians were here. At times it was ruled by the Italians, the French, and the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and became a part of Yugoslavia, before finally in 1991 becoming Croatia. The first thing we encounter is the ancient palace wall. A recreation of what it would have looked like, showing that it hasn't changed that much. The upper floor now converted in parts to residences. The ground floor now the location of tourist shops. Then another amazing place, the underground market, the Podrum, a labyrinth of vaulted underground chambers right under what was Diocletian's palace, previously used as a storehouse and a prison. Today, the passageway is lined with stalls selling souvenirs and artwork, while ancient history reigns above. So here, even shopping allows us to soak in history. And Rachel and I find a place in which we both have a great interest. When we emerge, we find ourselves in the peristyle, the central courtyard of the palace. Ironic is the fact that the mausoleum that was built for Diocletian is now a Christian church. The adherents of the faith he persecuted now worship God in the place built to remember him. His persecution of 303 to 312 was the Roman Empire's last, largest, and bloodiest official persecution of Christianity that not only failed to eliminate Christianity in the empire, but actually strengthened it, and by 324, a mere 12 years later, Christianity became the religion of the Roman Empire under Constantine. An interesting phenomenon is that 12 Egyptian sphinxes were brought here by Diocletian. This sphinx was made approximately 3,500 years ago and is the best preserved in Split. Roman soldiers still guard the palace, and provide a great spectacle for tourists. Indeed, a great location to learn about its history. Just walking around here is a great pleasure. It also, for me, brings back memories. This is where Nate and I enjoyed a coffee. So we soak in history. But right next to history is another favourite of Rachel, shops. And Rachel found a fruit stall where she could get some free samples. Guava, a favourite.
But a little bit smaller. You must dry.
And we made a friend.
Okay.
As we only had a short time left, Rachel decided to buy souvenirs, and we made another friend, Ivan.
So you have been everywhere. I see.
We're only a short walk away from the ship, so we finally decide to try the local ice cream.
Very good.
It's not, you didn't get stracciatella, you got hazelnut.
No, I got hazelnut, yeah. With chocolate bits inside it.
Wonderful.
I think that's just a little bit too close.
Have you enjoyed the day? Has it been a good day?
It has. We've literally just had a laid back day. I actually managed to buy a few things. And we just walked around, sat around, spoke with people, both local and tourists. And it's just been wonderful. A bit hot, but wonderful place.
So back to the ship after another wonderful day. From one amazing Croatian destination to another, the city of Dubrovnik is next. We certainly had a memory for both Rachel and me. It is the place from which we both embarked on our very first cruise with my sister Sharon and Edward in June of 2017. The cruise was called Venetian Vistas, and I still remember the thrill of getting on this cruise, exploring the ship, exploring Dubrovnik, and then sailing out into the sunset to start a great adventure. So we went downstairs and bought a bus ticket at the local kiosk and went into Dubrovnik on the bus, which dropped us right at the main gate of the city. It's actually my fourth visit to Dubrovnik. Last time I was here with Nate, so it was a memorable time. We walked over to look at the harbour. A very nice view from up here. Everybody enjoying it. I remember the first time I came here, seeing the beautiful harbour. A fascinating medieval city with a history. And it's time to explore again. It is indeed a very nice place to relax, have a snack and a drink, and stroll around and enjoy the city. The small fountain here is drinking water. The pigeons taking a drink, and Rachel filling up her water bottle with ice-cold water.
Ice cold.
In previous visits, we've both ascended the hill on the cable car and also actually walked around the top of the walls. There are great views over the walled city from the walls. So we enter the city through this historic gate. This is going to be fun.
Well, we're now in Dubrovnik, and we're in the old town, and we're just about to take a stroll down the main stretch while Dad takes some video and I have a look at the shops.
This is the Straden. It's the historic street at the center of the city that was used in the TV series Game of Thrones. Many interesting alleys and shops abound. There's much to do here, but there's also many places just to relax, get a drink, and enjoy the city. Usually there are many tourists here, and I was surprised that it was not anywhere near as crowded as it was the other times that we came, when it really was overcrowded. Maybe there have been too many travel restrictions, but this is June 2022, and things were getting back to normal. It is certainly a great place to soak in history. It's all around, and a beautiful city. Photogenic in the extreme. So I'll take you for a stroll with me. It's a unique place, reminders of its history all around us. I remember walking through this gate into the inner harbour on my first visit. It was a surprise. What a beautiful harbour. Here one can do everything from a submarine ride to a glass-bottom boat ride. And in times past we even had a meal overlooking the harbour. Last trip, Nate and I walked along the top of that wall, all the way around the city. The shops here are not only very interesting, but perhaps unique. So we take another walk through history. Here's a great reason why cruising in the Mediterranean is fun. The cities to which we come offer such amazing historic sites. And not just historical, the architecture is beautiful.
Just bought a painting of traditionally dressed musicians playing at a wedding.
Rachel loves everything musical, and she gets plenty of opportunities here to see new instruments and hear local music and musicians. It's such a pleasure simply to walk around Dubrovnik. The city, being a walled city, is very compact, and one can walk around here for hours, enjoying many different sights and sounds. It being a popular tourist destination, shops abound, and naturally, many interesting things for sale. Here it's locally grown lavender, Rachel always wanting to support local people. So enjoy your walk with us through medieval streets and buildings. The King's Landing of Game of Thrones, the medieval city where so much history has been enacted. In past times when the city was threatened, every visitor to the city had to bring a stone in order that ramparts and forts could be built. Today, the stones are still here, reminders of its medieval past. As the capital of the Republic of Ragusa, it's a place that actually once rivaled Venice. Lord Byron called it the Pearl of the Adriatic. Kings and princes have walked through this gate. But our visit is at an end, and we catch the bus back to the ship.
Yeah, good.
Once on the ship, we have a shower and then have dinner. Prawn cocktail, seafood gratin, Caesar salad, and the main course. And then a stroll around the ship as we prepare to leave.
Good day today.
Really good day.
And tomorrow,
Even better. We'll be in Kotor.
We have indeed had a wonderful day here. What a privilege it is to spend time such as this with my kids. Rachel and I have visited Kotor before. It is a wonderful place, and we're especially looking forward to the trip into Kotor through the Ria. It's fantastic, with amazing views as the ship goes into the narrow channel and up to the Montenegrin city. "200 years ago, Lord Byron commented that the Montenegrin coastline really is the most beautiful encounter between land and sea. It hasn't changed much. The joy that we have is that we may stand 10 stories high and look down on it all." After leaving Dubrovnik in Croatia, we're cruising out of the Adriatic Sea and into the Bay of Kotor on our way to the Montenegrin city of Kotor through what is called a ria, a coastal inlet formed by a drowned ancient river valley that remains open to the sea. It's sometimes known as the southernmost fjord, but it's not actually a fjord, as a fjord is created by a glacier. A ria is created simply by the flooding of a river valley. The joy of such a trip is that for most of the way, the land is clearly visible on each side of the ship, and we get some amazing views and can clearly see many villages by the side of the bay. It's always a favorite with passengers who are usually standing on the deck enjoying the views. I always imagine it would be great to be standing on the shore as these giant cruise ships pass by. This is an oyster and mussels farm. They do trips here from Kotor. It's 6:56 in the morning, and a delight to be here.
Really amazing morning view from here as we go down the Ria. It's just very, very, very special, unique.
It's now 7 o'clock and the coffee shop has opened and we can go below and get a coffee. To take away, of course, so that we can continue taking in the views up on deck. When we go back up, we're passing St. George's Monastery, another place that can be explored from Kotor by boat. As we passed numerous towns and villages, I was impressed by the beauty of the place. Combined with the Mediterranean climate, it must be a great place to live. It seems strange to be on a giant cruise ship, only a few yards away from people's homes, their cars parked outside their doors. And here we are, the ancient city of Kotor. It's one of the best preserved medieval towns in the Adriatic and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. We literally dock right outside the city.
Finally arriving. The sun has just peeped over the mountain top here. The ship is about to dock.
When Rachel and I were last here, it was actually our very first cruise. At that time, we felt the place was magical. Such a joy to look around, and so different to anywhere we'd been before. So after breakfast, we get one more coffee and make plans to do some of the things we didn't have time to do on our last visit. Having said that, there are still so many things that we didn't do that we really need to visit again. So time to explore. Kotor once more. When we disembark, a group of cyclists are preparing to enjoy a ride. Another cruise ship in the bay. It looks like being a crowded day today. Dobrodošli. Welcome. So we strolled up to the town, filled with anticipation, and knowing that it will be a relaxing, laid-back day. We're surely happy that our ship has a berth right next to the town. Already, history rearing its head up above, a cannon defending the gate, while one of them, the name Kotor, is said to mean 10 gates, so I presume there are 9 others. In recent times, Kotor has become a popular tourist destination, surrounded by fortifications built during the Venetian period. If you look closely, you can see the clock tower is leaning, the leaning tower of Kotor, though not as much as the tower in Pisa. Last time Rachel and I were here, we had a drink and watched a cultural group perform right here. This time, we took a walk. As we strolled around, we encountered a delightful couple in a shop. A girl had managed to make a deposit on my hat.
Now what's this?
Raindrops are not the only thing that are falling on my head. I'm a lucky guy today.
Yes.
And the bird was a good aim.
Yeah?
The tissue was no use, it had already flown away, so we couldn't help him in that respect.
But it brings not nothing, he buy nothing.
But lucky.
Moral of the story, go into the shop.
Yeah. Please.
But this camera is anyway a wonderful camera.
You too, Rachel, you too. This is a memory.
Rachel bought a ring. People like this make the visit special. So we continue to explore. It's a dramatic town full of medieval churches, a cathedral, and many relics of Venetian rule. A city of contrasts, old squares and alleys, with modern shops and cafes. Just walking around is fun. Occasionally entering shops to see what's on offer. So Rachel bought a souvenir to put on the wall at home in New York. Shuttered windows and wrought iron railings ubiquitous. Medieval arcades now tourist shops. If you've been here before, you will surely be reliving the moment right now. St. Luke's Orthodox Church. There are some tourist destinations that retain the feel of bygone times. This is surely one of those places, a pleasure to walk around and explore. Magical. And always somewhere to get a drink or a snack. Photogenic in the extreme, antiquity all around. And when we look up, we see the mountains towering over the city. Every now and then, an oasis of green. The Venetian walls reminding us that in time past it needed to be well protected. Last time we were here, a local friend took us for a meal in this restaurant. It's just outside the northern river gate, with a bridge over the river. And at that time we enjoyed great local food. This time we just strolled back into the town where we heard the sound of music. Clearly, this made Rachel's day. Dennis was playing a traditional stringed Serbian instrument like I've never seen before.
What's your name?
Denis. Denis.
Dennis.
Yes.
It was a pleasure both to talk to him and to hear him play. So back onto the ship, and we sail away back through the Bay of Kotor. A little sad, because tomorrow we end our cruise. It's been an amazing time together. Rachel had joined me all the way from New York to London, and then we went from London to the Med. And right now, New York seems a million miles away. Dinner. Rachel's favorite escargot. My favorite prawn cocktail. Celery soup. Roast beef and Yorkshire pudding. We've visited 11 places in the last 2 weeks and made many memories.
Good times.
Sad to see them end.
Amazing trip. Thank you, Rachel.